Then I would like to propose a toast on behalf of the European Union and the ambassadors here in Kampala to the people of Uganda and to the health of its president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
And I would like to reciprocate the toast for the success and prosperity and bilateral relations between the European Union and Africa to the success of Europe.
Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, before you leave.
And all the distinguished guests. First of all, I am sorry to have come late, but that is the fault of the European Union ambassador. This is because I told him that I was engaged up country, but he insisted that I come all the same. I'm glad I have managed to come, although late, but I am here now. I congratulate the Europeans for the union of the European countries, which has lasted the last 60 years. I studied European history. I know that the European continent used to have wars. The wars of Napoleon, the revolutions of 1848, the Franco-Prussian War of 1870, other wars in between, the First World War, Second World War. It is therefore no exaggeration that since the Second World War, 70 years ago, Europe has had peace for the first time in many centuries. And maybe it is all due to the vision, as the ambassador was saying, of sharing problems and opportunities rather than competing. So I congratulate you and I salute your forefathers who had the vision for this union. Among yourselves, but remember that we're also part of those wars in supporting you in your wars, which we didn't understand. But I heard a story that the Japanese soldiers were very scared in Burma, where the ambassador has been posted, because you know the Africans are fond of campfire, to make fire and at night and dance around the fire. Now, whenever the Japanese soldiers would hear African soldiers dancing around the campfire, they would know that Africans were roasting a Japanese soldier. Africa was part of those wars. There were wars. The First World War, we were there. The Second World War, we had the big forces in Burma. The 11th East African Division, the 14th East African Division. We are all part of those wars of yours. Europe, for getting themselves out of these wars and for cooperating among themselves. I also thank the European Union for their solidarity with us, because we get support from the European Union, and it has helped. Like, for instance, Uganda, we have benefited from that solidarity, and it has helped our recovery. The future between Europe and Africa should be very bright if it is used seriously, deliberately, and realistically. The capitalist system has had a number of crises which you all know about. One of the crises was in 1929, when there was a collapse of the system. And then there were other crises later. All these crises are mainly due to inadequate demand. You get into crisis. Because if people don't buy, then how will you continue producing and expanding production? Therefore, market access is a very important stimulus for global prosperity. People talk about isolation. I don't know how they will solve that issue. Because certainly even Uganda now, which is just coming from a very low level of production, if we do not have the regional markets of East Africa and even the global markets, our job will be impossible. When I buy what you produce, I am supporting your prosperity. When you buy what I produce, you are supporting my prosperity. That's common sense. That is the elementary economics in the secondary school. Therefore, Europe with 500 million people, Africa with 2.5 billion people in the next 30 years, there is nothing but opportunities if we handle them correctly. For Europe, in relation to Africa, the opportunities are in investments, in trade, and tourism. Those three words. ITT, investment, trade, and tourism. If we put this on the forefront, there's no way we can go wrong. I appreciate the aid which European Union gives to Uganda, for instance. However, I would like this aid to be more focused. Philosophically, we established a convergence in the 1980s, I should say. Many of the African leaders have not appreciated the importance of private sector-led growth. That's why in the 1960s you had a phenomena of governments in Africa confiscating private property. They were calling it nationalization. The government would take over the private assets, or they thought that was a good way of managing the economy, that they were doing it in the public interest. As a freedom fighter, I was watching all those debates. By the 1980s, we had come to a conclusion that no, yes, we don't agree with those who are pathologically averse to public participation in economic, in commercial enterprises. Some of the parastatals can work. We don't have that pathological aversion to public participation in the business. However, for the majority of cases, we think that private sector-led growth is more efficient than the public government companies. Even the Bible talks of the hired shepherd, a hired hand, will not defend the sheep because they are not his. When the wolf comes, he will run away and leave the sheep to be eaten by the wolf. So therefore, from the 1980s, we agreed with you people that private sector-led growth, sometimes mixed with public enterprises here and there, is the right way to go. However, what we did not agree with you is to emphasize that if that is the case, then the private sector-led growth needs some facilities. We need low costs of electricity. We need low costs of transport. We need low costs of communication. Low cost of money to be borrowed. If you analyze the support solidarity we get from the European Union, it is not always focused on that issue. If it is to be private sector-led growth, then we must deal with the infrastructure so that we lower costs. But sometimes we find, resources scattered all over the place. Women's rights, children, Okay, fantastic. Those are all ideas. Those are good ideas. But what is the base of a sustainable? Because if you say we are supporting children's rights, with what money? You have the money to support it sustainably? Or are you going to support children's rights with endless donations from outside? If somebody is depending on donations, we call that it's a disease called this cancer of the blood. What do you call it? leukemia. I don't want a situation of economic leukemia where the body cannot manufacture its own blood cells, but it depends on endless donations. You put in blood, and if it's finished, then you put in again. That is not correct. The relationship between Africa and Europe is very promising. After all, I'm speaking with you in English. I don't need a translation. I don't speak Chinese. I don't speak Hindi. So I can easily communicate with you people. But we must crystallize our relationship clearly so that we take advantage of this historical link, because we had a historical link. You came here with your English language, we captured it, and I'm now using it for my own purposes. When I was fighting the governments, I didn't have guns. The government would buy guns from North Korea, then I come and capture them from them and use them. So I regard English as a captured item. Since, however, I can communicate with you in one of the languages, they tried to teach me a second European language. This was 1962, 55 years ago. Almost all the Africans have this historical link with you people. Some are linking with you through English, like I'm doing now. Some are linking with you through French, others through Portuguese, even some through Spanish. We had a leader who was speaking Spanish here recently from Equatorial Guinea. This historical linkage could be used more deliberately. It is really a gift which can be used. Uganda now will grow very fast. I've been seeing these informed people talking a lot of things, but our economy will grow very fast. We are just struggling to solve one little problem. This is because now, for the first time, we have got enough electricity. And we are not going to have a deficit of electricity again. In the past, our economy was growing reasonably fast, in spite of the bottlenecks of having electricity, having high transport costs, high cost of money, but the economy was growing fast. Now, for the first time, we're going to have enough electricity. We are trying to solve the problems of transport by building the standard gauge railway from Kenya to here. And we are struggling with the question of the cost of money in the banks. Now, with the electricity, we have worked with the Chinese. The Chinese have given us low-cost money to build more dams. With the transport, the railway, again we are working with the Chinese. Now this is where I see neglect of opportunity. Our European partners who are historically linked with us should be the ones in the front line of solving the base of the economy. Because if you don't deal with the infrastructure, if you don't deal with electricity, if you don't deal with the railway system, if you don't deal with the cost of money. Yes, we appreciate the support of the European Union on the roads. The roads, yes, we appreciate that support. And it somehow lowers the costs also, because if the roads are passable, they are better than if they are not passable. But the cheapest mode of transport is the railway. What? The sea, water first, that's the cheaper. The railway next, then the roads, and then the air. So therefore the European Union should focus not only here in Uganda, but even in other countries, together with the human rights, with the rights of children, with the rights of homosexuals, and all those wonderful rights. But please, the first right should be the growth of these economies. The economies are growing because of the lower costs. In order to attract private investment, then the future is much easier to handle. With these few words, I congratulate the European Union in the 6 years, and I wish you good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. I'd like to request His Excellency Ambassador Christian Schmidt to welcome you to the podium for our next item on the agenda, which is a cake cutting ceremony. His Excellency President Kaguta Museveni will be
I would like to propose a toast on behalf of the European Union and the ambassadors here in Kampala to the people of Uganda and to the health of its president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
And I would like to reciprocate the toast for the success and prosperity and bilateral relations between the European Union and Africa to the success of Europe.
Excellency President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, before you leave.
She's our chat. Okay, it's okay.
One is
First wait.
miss the picture. Oh my goodness. But we missed the picture. Can we shake hands? Only Basil. It's only Basil. It's nice.
But I consider it as a reward. It's an important analysis.
It is.
The size of this space between India and China. That makes it look smaller.
Special request from his security detail.
Yes,
They
these standings.
request that only official
Of
press
course, aware of
invited
themselves.
to equipment.
I'm going to make a joke in my speech.
Use your
I
phones.
want you to. It's bigger than France.
In size.
Okay.